silly was that? Now we all know.
The penalty box.
Well, we all know too now.
Yeah.
It's like little droplets that, these little penalty boxes were
The
getting
penalty box.
zero.
Yeah, it was all
for the
looked across, 4 pages of
Yeah.
plexiglass
Yeah.
across.
We did a lot of really stupid things until we figured out, how the virus transmitted.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was a wild time right at the start when, I mean, there were people that were wiping down their groceries from
Yeah.
everything.
Okay, good evening. I am calling the HEDRA meeting on Thursday, February 8th to order here in 2024. We've got a few items of business on the agenda tonight, and one note, we are going to be switching 2 items. Item 5 and 6 will be flipped around because there is a closed door session that we will be holding at the very end of the meeting. So with that, it looks like we do have a quorum, so we can move on to approval of minutes. Everybody take a chance to look at the minutes, and we're looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay.
Second?
Okay. Motion to approve the minutes and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, minutes are approved. Moving on to bills. Alex or John, who's going to be taking us through bills
Sure.
today?
I can give a detail of the bills here. We had a few bills related to our involvement in the Economic Development Association of Minnesota, our annual dues, and then winter conference, which was a really good opportunity to meet up. We had a couple good ideas that came out of there that we'll be sharing with HEDRA as we move forward. So that's most of what we had here.
Great. Any questions on bills from anybody? Okay, motion to approve? Okay, any seconds?
Second.
All right, we've got a motion to approve and a second. So all in favor of approving bills, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, looks like bills are approved. We will move on to business. It looks like we have 3 items. John, would you like to introduce item A?
Sure, absolutely. Mr. President and HEDRA, I'm proud to be able to have here tonight Natalie Bulso from Open to Business. We've talked a lot about Open to Business, the opportunities that it has for people that are looking to start businesses, to expand businesses. Natalie's been a great asset, and we're very fortunate to have her representing all the communities within Dakota County. So she's here tonight to provide what she's been working on over the last year and some more information on MCCD. So Natalie, you're up to you. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. So nice to see all of you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for that introduction, John. My name is Natalie Mulso. I am the Open to Business Advisor for Dakota County, and I do a lot of work here in Hastings in partnership with John and Alex, and I'm excited to be here today to talk with you all about the outcomes for the past year, and then look ahead to a few things that we have kind of in the offing for 2024. All right, so the Open to Business program is comprised really of it's kind of a 2-prong approach. The first would be technical assistance, and that is one-on-one direct business assistance with small businesses that are either getting started or existing businesses that either have some opportunities in front of them or some challenges in front of them, and they need some help sort of navigating that. The second prong, which we'll talk about next, is access to capital. But focusing first on the technical assistance, throughout Dakota County last year, I worked with 168 small businesses and almost 1,300 direct technical assistance hours. So that's sitting down with them, meeting with them at their place of business. We do a lot of meetings at local libraries if they don't have a brick and mortar location, but really just kind of meeting them where they're at. About a 60-40 split in terms of startups or existing businesses. Usually it's more 50-50, so it's just interesting that there's an uptick, a lot of confidence, I think, last year, and a lot of folks looking to get started with their business idea. You can see the demographics here as well. In terms of referrals, we do get a lot of referrals from word of mouth, either businesses that have worked with us, successfully, and they tell friends and family. Our bank partners are just a huge asset in the community because they're meeting with businesses every day and talking with them and can make those connections. Of course, people are searching online for us. About 30% of inquiries came through that way. And then our partnerships with our cities. And, certainly the cities field a lot of phone calls and a lot of inquiries all day long from businesses. So directing those folks to us through that process. Specifically here in Hastings last year, I worked with 16 businesses and spent about 180 direct hours with them, one-on-one, working on their business. About a 56-44 split in terms of startup and existing. And breaking down the demographics a bit, about 44% of those business owners were self-reported as low wealth. 31% were women-owned businesses, and then about 13% or 2 businesses were BIPOC-owned, and that would be Black, Indigenous, or people of color owned. In terms of referrals, we get an awful lot of referrals from the city here in Hastings, more than the average throughout the county, which is interesting. You all do just a fabulous job of connecting your local businesses to this service, so kudos to you for making those connections. 38% of the clients came to me through our bank partners. We have a lot of really strong partnerships here locally that we're very grateful for, and good word of mouth as well, I think. And then 19% of referrals came through the web or other sources. In terms of access to capital, so this would be direct loans made by MCCD to these businesses, but also facilitated capital from other sources, maybe grants that we helped folks get for their business, things like that. So we're looking at capital as a whole. We did about just over 600,000 in direct MCCD lending throughout the county last year. That leveraged 750,000 in owner equity. That's the dollars that the business owners are investing in their business for these various projects. And then just over $3 million in other capital. So that would be funds from banks and credit unions, the SBA, other sources. So in terms of, for every $1 that MCCD invests in a local business in Dakota County, that's leveraged by almost $5.25. So we love to see those statistics too. In terms of interest rates, so we have been very intentional about keeping our interest rates as low as we possibly can. And that hasn't always been the case, but really just in the past few years, we've been very strategic about raising low-cost funds, either from the U.S. Department of the Treasury or from private philanthropy or our bank partners that invest in our loan fund. So our average portfolio interest rate is 5%, and actually a little bit less than 5% right now. Our interest rate for startups and for any loan that we would do is capped at 7%. So we are still making loans, today at 6% and even less than that for the businesses that we're working with. So again, we're able to do that because we've fundraised to be able to do that, and we're really focused on getting, low-cost dollars that we can lend out. So we're excited about that, and we're trying to talk more about our interest rates, like I said, because it just wasn't always the case that we were able to provide this low-cost capital. So here in Hastings, we actually did, 38% of the total lending that I did in Dakota County was here in Hastings, which is really exciting. We did a couple of great projects this past year, and then we also did a few projects the year prior that I'll talk about in a minute. But almost $230,000 in direct lending from MCCD. That was leveraged, again, by the owner equity and then additional access to capital through bank partners. So for every $1 that we lent, $1.30 was leveraged. So in 2023, we worked with 2 businesses here on loans. One was a financial advisory business, and the other is a transportation business. An owner-operator was looking to branch out on his own and buy a truck for himself. last year, I did want to note that we did a really wonderful grocery store project here locally, and we also worked with an insurance agency on a loan locally. So just a few updates, tried to keep it relatively high level, but wanted to call a couple things out that we did last year here locally. We had a business tour where we visited 5 businesses. I think it was in June of last year. And these were all MCCD clients that we worked really closely with. And John and Alex came along with the tour, and we had some folks from the CDA there as well. And it was just a really nice way to highlight, you know, a couple of pretty diverse businesses that we're working with here locally. We also, you know, continue to focus on strengthening our lending partners. We have some wonderful lending partners here locally that just care, I think, really deeply about businesses and connecting them with resources. So great partnerships there. Also last year, we were approved for DEED's new small business loan partnership program. So those are some new tools in our toolbox to help us get dollars out the door. That includes a loan participation. There's also a loan guarantee program that's new and really, really just enables us, like I said, to get more dollars out the door. We also were approved for a program through the SBA called Prime, and that's the program for investment in micro entrepreneurs. And this is a technical assistance award really focused on disadvantaged MEs or micro entrepreneurs, and that would be folks with 3 or fewer employees in a low income bracket as well. Other highlights from last year, we love to do webinars, and we did a couple bookkeeping webinars with our bookkeeping experts. Every client that we work with gets up to 10 hours at no cost with a CPA to focus on their, you know, getting their QuickBooks set up or looking at their financials and just anything that they might need, just, you know, questions that they have. Not everyone has access to a CPA. A lot of folks are doing their own books. So we want to give them a good, solid foundation to get started. So we did a few of those webinars. We also have a great partnership with the University of Minnesota's Law School. And we've worked with them for really a number of years, but in the past few years, we've been doing these webinar Q&As where it's all about business law, and business owners can submit their questions, and then a panel of law students and then their supervising attorney will answer their business questions. So it's just a wonderful way, again, to kind of plug people into resources that they wouldn't necessarily, you know, maybe have the cash to pay for, to bring in a lawyer to ask questions, and folks that are just getting started too and need that guidance. So we did a few of those last year, and we're going to continue to do that in the coming year. We also rolled out a new business resource newsletter. We've always had a newsletter, but this is a new feature, and it's really just tailored to our small business clients. So we'll put, you know, training opportunities, grant opportunities, things that we hear about at the local level, and, you know, just really good, important information that they should have, and trying to get that to their fingertips. So we're not doing it on an ad hoc basis, and it's, you know, in an organized fashion, and they can count on that coming to their inbox every month. So we're excited about that. That comes out at least monthly. I also expanded my office hours and am now available to meet with clients 5 days a week. And that's really a focus area to kind of looking forward, is just, you know, being more accessible to clients, meeting them where they're at, you know, phone calls, Zoom meetings, in person, library, at their place of business, whatever that looks like for them. And then a few highlights. I mentioned the business tour earlier, so this is just a couple photos of businesses locally that we visited that day. And I included a quote from the trucking business that we did a loan with last year. So he says, "I've been in the trucking business for more than 40 years. I intend to keep working until I'm unable to, and look forward to continuing to grow my new business. You've got to start someplace, and I started at the bottom." He worked with Royal Credit Union, so when he reached out to them about his loan to become an owner-operator, they connected with us. So he says, "My advisor, Natalie, was very upfront with me, helping with all the paperwork, and then he worked with Carrie from Royal Credit Union. She did an excellent job as well. Very appreciative of the partnership, and he gives us a strong endorsement." So we love to see those testimonials. And then looking ahead to, well, here we are in 2024. We've got a big lending goal this year. So this is direct MCCD lending. So our dollars out the door, we have a $3 million goal. We're going to keep our interest rate capped at 7% for the time being. And we'll, keep doing that for as long as we possibly can. My focus will be on, client work and increasing my accessibility and availability and meeting folks where they're at, like I mentioned earlier. We started to do a business planning workshop at our office in Minneapolis that was sold out in January, which was really interesting to see. It was a bit of a test case, so I think there's definitely a demand for free in-person business planning assistance in a group setting. So we're going to keep doing that quarterly at least, and we might even take the show on the road. But we did have folks coming from all across the area and some folks from Dakota County coming as well. We're also doing QuickBooks workshops quarterly, and then just continuing with the outreach and the advertising locally. So with that, got my contact information. There are brochures about the program here at City Hall. Alex can get those to anyone if you're interested in taking a peek. But I want to be really accessible and available to businesses locally. So please don't hesitate to talk about the program and connect folks directly to me at any point in time. And with that, I'll pause for questions if there are any.
Hi, Natalie. Thanks for coming tonight. Sorry to put you on the spot, but anything come to mind for most common types of challenges or roadblocks for folks here in Hastings looking to start a business?
That is a great question. Common challenges. I would think when people are just getting started, it's all about setting that strong foundation. And they have to put in the work, I think, to do the business plan, to do the projections, to do their homework. And that it does take a bit of time to do that. You really can't rush it. So in order to do that process right, it's investing in the foundation on kind of the front end. And that's why I think this service is so helpful to folks, because whatever their area of expertise is or their background, we've got business plan templates, we have financial projection templates. I can sit down with them and really walk them through it, which is just wonderful. And I think as the business community here becomes more diverse too, which we're definitely seeing some of that, which is wonderful. I think, everyone's coming at it with different skill levels and backgrounds, and we've got language capabilities on our team, and we can bring in other folks and just, like I mentioned earlier about accessibility, I think it speaks to that.
Thank you. And I have heard nothing but really positive things from the folks in town that have used it and have shared here. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I would thank you too. I've heard wonderful things about the program I haven't heard a complaint, which is amazing when you got a government program, right? And about you, so thank you for your work. Is there anything, to kind of piggyback off what Trevor was talking about, is there anything that we can do as a HEDRA commission or the city to support what you're doing? And then where does your funding come from? I'm kind of curious about that.
Well, thank you for both of those questions. So in terms of supporting the program, I think just keep it top of mind, because you're out in the community, you're talking to businesses, you have those local connections, and just spread the word really, and connect folks with me, or connect them to John or Alex, and they can connect them to me, because I think the more people that know about the program, the better off the business community will be. In terms of the funding, our funding comes from a lot of different sources. I would say our largest two sources would be the U.S. Department of the Treasury and also the state of Minnesota's DEED program. There's a small business partnership program, I think is the title of it, and so we appeal for funds to the state through that program. We have a lot of other funding sources too, and we're really trying to diversify our funding sources. So like I mentioned earlier, sometimes we get investments from banks. They give us money at a certain interest rate, and then we relend that back out. We do a lot of fundraising with private philanthropy, so the big foundations that you hear about, locally, we appeal, to them and have relationships there. The Small Business Administration as well. Were a recipient last year of not a new program, but we were a first-time recipient of a program of theirs for micro entrepreneurs. And then individual gifts as well, but not, I think, a ton of that. But those are kind of the main sources.
Natalie, I thank you for all you've done in the community. And, when people are starting small businesses, they have great ideas and good aspirations and things, but everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And I think what you bring to the table is that foundation to help them get off to a good start and help them, give them the best chance that's possible for them, because it's not easy. So I appreciate it, and we've enjoyed working with you in the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope, I was just going to state, no formal action necessary on that, Mr. President, report for tonight, but we do appreciate Natalie joining us here.
All right. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Great. We'll move on to business item B, which is Resolution 2024-04, Facade Improvement Program Grant for 101 2nd Street East. Turn it over to staff.
Right. Thank you, President Johnson, Commissioners. So we received an application from Jennifer Malicio, who represents the property at 101 2nd Street East, applying for the Facade Improvement Program grant funding. So the project itself is fairly simple. There is a entry door to the residential units at 101, and they are looking to remove and refurbish the door and get that reinstalled. Also installing a storm door window at that doorway as well. This has been communicated with and approved by the Historic Preservation Committee already, so things are handled on that end. The project has eligible costs totaling $6,197, and given the program outline, that based on matching funds of $2 of private investment for every $1 of grant funding, I am recommending a motion to approve Resolution 2024-04, approving the Facade Improvement Program Grant Award for the amount of $2,065.67. Stand for any questions.
Any questions or comments? Okay. Any motions?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we got a motion to approve. A second?
Second.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2024-04 for the Facade Improvement Program Grant to 101 2nd Street East, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to item C, Resolution 2024-05, an amendment to an existing facade improvement grant at 301 2nd Street East. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you very much. So, in October, HEDRA reviewed and approved a facade improvement program grant application submitted by Amy Sutton, representing Hastings Family Service, located at 301 2nd Street East. This was to remove an awning that was on one of their buildings, and then to repair any of the brick and roof work that was associated. At the time of application, the only quoted work that was submitted for reimbursement was the demolition of the awning itself, with a note in the application that additional roof work might be needed as well. Staff did not receive any quotes for roof work or brick facade repair in the initial application. There was a misunderstanding between staff and Ms. Sutton on the structure of the program, which led to the applicant only submitting for the demolition portion of the project and not the entire project cost in its entirety. The applicant believed that the grant would have covered the entirety of the project cost instead of the 2-to-1 matching program, so that's why they only submitted for a portion of the project itself. After the grant approval and the work was completed, the applicant submitted for reimbursement, which staff processed, and the resolution at the time provided for $1,600 worth of reimbursement for the project. The applicant reached out, we discussed things, and realized that there was the lapse in communication there. And we realized that, after discussing about the 2-to-1 matching system, the applicant asked if it would be possible to be reconsidered for the entirety of the project cost. The way the program is currently put together states that work done prior to receiving grant approval cannot be reimbursed, but staff believes that due to the misunderstanding and the communication errors on both sides of this, the applicant's request for funding should be considered by the board for the entire project total. The repair work added an additional $4,050 to the project, which brought the total cost to $8,850. Using the 2-to-1 match requirement that we have, the maximum award that could be given is $2,950. Since the applicant has already received $1,600 worth of that, this update would be to reimburse them for an additional $1,350. So we're looking for is a motion to approve Resolution 2024-05, which is approving an amendment to the approved grant award to the total amount of $2,950. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Just have to, I think I made this, the same statement prior when this came. I'm a HFS board member and volunteer, so I have to abstain, and I hope that doesn't mess up with the number of people we have here tonight, the voting. But yeah, I do have to abstain.
Okay. I understand that, Commissioner Horsch. At this point, we would have less than a majority present, so we would not be able to take action on this tonight. So we would have to take action on that at March 14th.
Okay. Can I ask one question procedurally on this one?
Mm-hmm.
So because they've been paid out last year, a portion, and we'd pay an additional portion this year, would the payment applied this year go towards their cap for this year, or would that be retroactive to their last year? And if we can't answer that tonight, it's okay, but we should know that when we vote on it.
I would have to look into the way the program is worded. I believe that's fair. That portion itself is open-ended, since this would be retroactively going towards a project from last year. But I'll look into that, and when we bring this back up at the March meeting, I will have an answer.
Thank you. And then any ideas that you two would have that for us to modify the program to make it clearer, just to avoid future headache for applicants? That would be great.
Yeah, that is on the list of things that we're discussing for our priority list, and at the March meeting, we're going to be kind of discussing our project list for the year and ranking priorities, but it is on our list to reevaluate the existing program, see what could be done to streamline it, make things a little less confusing, and see if there are other needs that could be met with those dollars as well.
Great, thank you. So we will have no actions taken on this one tonight due to lack of quorum. So I think that is the end of our open business, and we will be moving towards the closed door session. Is that correct? Anything else before we move into that?
Yeah, and Mr. President, could go through development updates quick. If you'll indulge me on that, then we can move into closed door session. All right. So with development updates this month, we've had a lot of work completed on the environmental end for the Walden development down on Highway 316. Council did approve the environmental assessment worksheet that no further environmental review is necessary. So environmental review is concluded on that project. We do have a partial application in right now for 450 housing units, very similar to a concept plan that we've had the last year and a half. So we have not scheduled that for planning commission or council review yet at this point. We're still waiting for that to be completed. So with that, keeps moving along. United Heroes League, site was selected for Hockey Day 2026. I think everyone's probably aware of that. That's going to be a huge event for us as we move forward on that, and it's more stuff that'll be happening down on the site down on Vanna Trail, so good news there. We had a concept plan submitted for a new Simply Secure storage site at Glendale and Spiral, waiting for application to come forward on that. This is not on a city-owned land, but on a privately owned land that's there. And then with Hastings Co-op Creamery, fire investigation has concluded. The site's been cleared for cleanup. We did give them an ultimatum of Friday for them to provide information on their cleanup plan. I did speak to one of the people involved with the creamery before the meeting tonight. They're going to be working on some stuff tomorrow, some stuff next week, which will make the site possibly a little more palatable, but still a lot of questions about what's happening on that one, so we'll continue to push to get answers on that, but we'll see what happens there. Other projects going around town, a lot of construction continuing on with our apartment complexes, which is great, and I can stand for any questions.
I have one in the creamery. So is the owner of that lot and is looking to rebuild something there? Do we know where? I would assume there's a lot of site contaminations due to the fire and everything else.
Yeah, more questions than answers at this point. I don't know what might happen there, whether they would be, what the cleanup would involve, if the cleanup would involve demolition of the building, or what might happen in the future of that site.
Okay, any questions on updates? All right, so before we move into the closed door session, just for clarification for anybody in attendance or watching online, we'll close the session, and then are we coming back to adjourn, or is that it for the evening?
We will have just a motion to adjourn the meeting after the closed door session, so there would not be any other business that would be coming up after the closed door session.
Okay, so if you hang around, you're gonna be pretty disappointed.
This would really conclude the meeting. The only thing
Okay.
after this would be a motion to adjourn.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so at that, at the request of the staff, I will be seeking a motion to close the meeting pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D05, subdivision 3C, to review the offer for the sale of properties located at the southwest corner of Pleasant Drive and South Frontage Road.
So move.
All right, do we have a second? Second. All right, all in favor of closing the meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, we will be closing the meeting.